Is the Doge dividend dead? Today we'll break it down for you, how all of this may be affecting the crypto market, as well as so much more. You guys don't want to miss it. My name is Paul Bear. Welcome back into Tech Path. Let's get started. I want to thank our sponsor today, and that is Tangem. Now, Tangem is all about self-custody. And the way self-custody works with Tangem is you get some cards, they work with your phone, and it's very easy to set up. So check it out. Go over to Tangem.com. You can use our link down below. It's going to be one of the best and most secure crypto and hardware wallets out there. It is premium. So you guys kind of go. Use the 3-card set, by the way. That's the one you want. That way you have an extra one. Use it, and you'll get some discounts by using our link. Let's go over to a coverage that we have done a few months ago, and it was in reference to the promise and the idea of a DOGE dividend. Now, everybody remembers DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, led by Elon Musk. But really what this was all about was the potential of savings for the American people, and then taking those savings and allowing those savings to be actually paid back to Americans for all this overage and abuse that existed. Very big proponent we were of that. Problem is that part of it started failing when we got the promise of the Department of Government Efficiency doing a live feed of all the savings that were going to be done. And of course, right here, the website will improve with updates, real time. Never happened, guys, never happened. So even with all those great engineers, this did not come about. And this, I think, is where one of the, maybe the first few times that Elon has actually been in a situation where he has failed going in on things like this. So I want to go to a clip because this is where Elon actually gives up. Take a look.
He said this week he's pulling back from politics.
I'm going to do a lot less in the future.
And why is that?
I think I've done enough.
Disappointed to see the massive spending bill, frankly, and undermines the work that the DOGE team is doing.
Everything he's done on DOGE gets wiped out in the first year.
Were you so surprised, though, that he was so public about it?
The only thing that would ever surprise me about Elon Musk is if he bit his tongue.
Yeah.
All right, so you can kind of tell just by the body language there, Elon looks a bit defeated here. Obviously, the tax bill and the spending bill all combined, I think, sets back a lot of what he was trying to do. Granted, many of what he was trying to do just either did not get executed. Maybe it's the blue, the red tape that is required there in D.C. around all of this, but he paid a heavy price for this. Elon Musk's net favorability right here since Trump, which right there, January 1st, you guys can kind of see this. Let me kind of zoom in on that for you. Net favorability is down negative, almost 15%. So Tesla has paid the price. Tesla owners have paid the price going forward. Now, the idea of DOGE was actually a very good idea. This was the architect of it. He was the original guy, James Fishback. He was the CEO of Azoria. He was the one proposing the idea of, hey, with these dividends, with these savings, let's go back and actually pay some of this back to the American taxpayer. The idea was just rock solid, and maybe still is today if there could be some architecture for that to be done. If Trump could actually follow through with that, maybe with different functions coming out of D.C., because you've got to be able to play the political game, and I don't think Elon was prepared for the kind of politics that play out in D.C. Now, here is where Fishback, the author of DOGE, defends some of the things that happened. Take a look.
The man whose idea it is not Elon, it is James Fishback. DOGE keeps getting shit wrong, James. And if they just did it and then got it all right and came out with it once instead of Elon having to wave around a chainsaw, you wouldn't get as much scrutiny.
Yeah, so everyone's going to get stuff wrong, Chris. What I think the issue is that at least DOGE is admitting it. So I'm not going to hold DOGE, and I don't think any American should, to this perfection standard.
All right, so some of the points that they made, that he made with Chris Cuomo there, of course, some of it has been around the mistakes that are made. And when you look at the efficiency side of government, the point is that these were designed to be audits, look for fraud and abuse, and these should have very cut and dry situations. An audit is just that, an audit. It's accurate almost to the penny. And I think that's where some of this failed on what Elon was trying to do. And you go a little bit further, and this is something that I never really understood, because we kind of had an anticipation that the blockchain would solve a lot of these problems. Here's a clip from Steve Bannon. Take a look at this.
I think with Elon, before he leaves, we need to have an accounting.
He's questioned the integrity of the system. We need to have a very specific accounting, and I mean details. Treasury's got to sign off that, OMB's got to sign off, and every department head, because he went from $2 trillion a year to $150 billion next year with nothing this year. None of this makes sense. The cuts you've seen that have been announced are programmatic. That's a totally different thing. And that has to happen, I think, in the month of May. And
sounds like you don't trust him not to take data.
Trust, but verify.
All right, I like that. Trust but verify. That's the point. Blockchain is the way to get this done. The question is whether or not the American government would actually try to do something like this, because it would hold accountability at the highest level. Maybe that is what Elon was seeing. I don't know. Or was it something else? Was there a lot of his own ideas that he was trying to implement that would benefit his companies? There's many things that people are speculating around this right now. Now, Elon is now being questioned around his involvement with Tesla. Because remember, he's now departed from DOGE, so he didn't see that through. Granted, he wasn't there, supposed to be there very long, but the idea was get the job done. Didn't get done. Now let's go do the job of running the company that he should be running, which is Tesla. Here's what he had to say. Take a look.
And are you committed to still being the chief executive of Tesla in 5 years' time?
Yes.
No doubt about that at all. Does that mean that the value of your pay doesn't have any bearing on your decision?
Well, that's not really a subject of discussion in this forum.
Your decision to be committed to Tesla for the next 5 years, as long as you are still with us on this planet, is completely independent of pay?
No.
It's not independent. So pay is a relevant factor then to your commitment to Tesla.
I can't be sitting there and one day get tossed out. That would be unacceptable. That's all that matters. Now let's move on.
Okay. Well, just one question.
Let's move on.
Well.
All right. So you can see very sensitive on this issue. Many of this may be because of the pay debacle that Elon went through about getting bonuses after he achieved certain results. Part of this also could be him being burned by DC. So there's just a lot of issues, I think, that are facing Elon Musk and the companies that he's involved in. So Tesla definitely in a different place. Now, the one company that initiative that he's very focused on is this one right here, and that is XAI. XAI is involved heavily with, obviously, X and Grok. All of this eventually, I think, will either tie into two areas of where the potential of his empires could flow, and that is going to be in the AI side. I do think robotics is going to be a big part of this, even though it's still very, very early for Optimus and some of the things that are happening there. Full self-driving, still struggling with it completely getting done. We're going to see continuing challenges, I think, with Tesla. Now that the tax credit is off the table, it is a very difficult time, I think, for a lot of these companies, and Elon is now starting to realize all of that. Here is a little bit more of a clip that may reveal how Elon maybe stepped away. Take a look.
The first big fight we've had with Elon was over Elon pushed Howard Lutnick, and Bannon in War Room pushed Scott Bessent, and that got very nasty in Mar-a-Lago. I'll be blunt. If Howard Lutnick had been Secretary of the Treasury, it would have been an unmitigated disaster. And this is about people putting their own interests first, like Elon, versus putting the nation's interests first.
First of all, I agree with that statement. You cannot have your interests first. If you're performing or serving in public office, it is the will of the people that you're trying to do this for. And if you guys remember, there's actually been some drama out there where Bessent and Elon actually got in a shouting match. And I think a lot of this has been built around the whole issue around payments and the issue that Elon was really messing up in terms of trying to function on this new evolution of what DOGE was. Well, Scott Bessent actually had some plans that he thought would work and may actually work. One of them was saving $2 billion that could be cut from the IRS technology budget without disruptions. And that was one of the key things that Elon really did not do, because he was causing a lot of disruptions, mostly because of personal interest, maybe personal interest toward companies, personal interest toward certain kinds of benefits to the companies. We don't really know the full extent of what it was. What we do know is the execution was horrible. And I think he is now starting to see, and one of the reasons, of course, beyond just the point of everybody pointing fingers at Elon Musk, is now he's starting to see his failings, especially around someone like Bessent, who has been running hedge funds for quite some time. Not that, Elon can't run companies, but he's a great engineer. He's not an auditor. He's not a guy that really understands the financial system. That's where Bessent comes in, and I think that's the big factor going forward. Now, I want to go to another clip here, because this is when Bessent came in and said, all right, we're going to be able to draw the line in the sand here. Take a look.
I guess what I was going to ask was, you just mentioned there were two people who were working with respect to DOGE at the time.
Yes, sir. That conversation was about a discussion of the payment system.
I got to ask for the short version.
Oh, that it was people like this individual who were hitting send on the payments. I've come to find out that he's part of the problem.
I apologize. Well, Mr. Alez had worked at Mr. Musk's SpaceX company. This man resigned.
That individual was terminated.
He was terminated. Okay. Well, I appreciate that. Although it appears that he then later turned up that he was rehired, I guess, and that he's continuing.
Not by Treasury, sir.
Okay.
I didn't follow his career.
Okay. Would you have brought him on in the capacity that he had at the Department of Treasury?
I think the Office of Personnel Management would have flagged that.
Would you have brought him on?
Sir, again, I'm not going to speculate.
The chair now recognizes.
Basically what he's saying is the guys that were working for Elon, they were doing nefarious things. We got rid of them. No, we're not going to bring them back in to the office in any way, even though they were attempted for a rehire. Now, Bessent looks at trying to restructure a lot of this, and many of his ideas have been interesting. The question is can he execute? Here's a clip that kind of breaks down how he's going to modernize the IRS.
The tech modernization program at the IRS was begun in 1990. The young man who I put in charge of it was not even born then. So that it's $15 billion over budget. It's a $3.5 billion a year budget. I think it's running on COBOL, which is what. So we are going to fix that. And I think it could be substantial savings to the American people, because the IRS roughly processes as many transactions as a mid-sized U.S. bank.
The damage has been done over many decades. Bessent is attempting to try to go in and restructure a lot of this. And even the guy who authored the idea of DOGE, this was James Fishback, on the idea, here's Charlie Kirk just asking which member of Trump's cabinet is doing the best job right now. Bessent, hands down, clearly the way to go. So this has been one of those scenarios that, of course, has been a great idea, did not get executed on. In fact, may have had some other underlying things that were going on. So last point I want to make here is, if you guys remember, this is kind of what got us so charged on this thing. And that was that the idea was that government efficiency programs would start to fall to the blockchain. And this is where no shenanigans could be done. And I think that was the effort and the hope of where it could go. But it never happened. That was an article back in January. That was the future. That was the idea, the hope, the vision of what could be with DOGE. And it aptly became poop instead of DOGE. Remember that Avalanche is already executing on a lot of this. Some of it has been around FEMA and also the DMV, California DMV. Remember, if you're running something of that stature and you're doing it just as an L1 or just as a side project, imagine what you could do if you really got investment and buy-in from a government entity like the U.S. government. This is a big deal that could really make a change in the future. With all that being said, let's not forget, while everything else here in the United States around DOGE is not necessarily happening, well, we've got some things happening over in Dubai, and that is all being built right now on the XRP Ledger. And much of this is being done not only with the idea of going on the ledger, but it's also the transactions that are happening as well. 7% of Dubai's total property transactions now being executed on blockchain. Guys, this is ridiculous for the United States to not be this far along with one of the best technologies out there. And it's a little bit demoralizing, especially when you think about David Sachs, who is the guy who can make a lot of this happen. He is the czar for crypto and AI. I don't understand. I know he's a good friend of Elon Musk, and I understand that with the podcast and all that. But the reality is there is some opportunities here. Execution can happen on the blockchain if we can get the right people in there to get it done. If you guys are not tuned in to the Diamond Circle, well, that's our own special place for you guys, and it's absolutely free. You can also communicate with me out there on Telegram, which is just in the link down below, and follow me on X, @PaulBaron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.